Let's say we have a list of fruits and we need to print them all on the console. This is how we will use for loop to do this. First, we write for, then a variable, let's say x. You can name it anything. Then in keyword followed by the list name and colon. Below we write our code which will execute multiple times. And here we are simply printing x. What this for loop will do is iterate on the list of fruits, starting from the first till the end. In each iteration, loop will fetch a value from the list and store in variable x, and we print the value of x in each iteration. In the first iteration, loop will fetch value apple from the list and store it in x and prints apple on the console. Next, loop will fetch banana from the list and assign to x, and banana gets printed on the console. Next, loop prints mango, then orange, and finally cherry.
Let's say we have a list of numbers and we are required to print squares of all the numbers one by one. If we have no idea of loops, this is how we are going to write our logic. Take the first number and multiply it with itself. Take the second number, multiply with itself, and do the same for all the other numbers. This is a very inefficient way, so let's get rid of this. We are going to use for loop. So for number in numbers, here the number is merely a variable, a placeholder that will catch the values one by one coming from the list. You can name it anything. Now we are inside the for loop body. Here we will print square of this number. For that, simply write print number times number. That's all we need to do. Let's have a look. And there we get squares of all the numbers printed on the terminal. Now let me explain how this works. Please pay close attention. I can summarize this whole loop in 3 words, and they are throw, catch, and use. Again, throw, catch, and use. The list throws its values one by one. This variable number catches them one after the other, and here we print square of the number. And when this code is done executing, the list throws next number, and this cycle continues till the end of the list. So first list will throw 1 and the number will catch 1, and 1 times 1 gets printed. Next list throws 2 and 2 times 2 gets printed. Then list throws 3, 4, and this way this cycle continues, and we print squares of all the numbers. And after printing square of the last number, the loop will terminate and control will come out of the loop. Still confused? Let me make it a piece of cake for you. Well, this time instead of running from this play button, I will use this debug icon. Using this, we can execute our code line after line, and we can see how each line of our code executes. For that, I will put checkpoints here. I will select all the lines and I will press debug button. From here, I will select console. Now you can see the first line is highlighted. To execute this line, I will press this button, resume program. When I press this, the first line is executed, and what happened? A variable numbers is created in computer memory having this list. The next line is highlighted. Press resume. This line will execute. A variable number is created having value 1. After executing this line and printing 1, control moves back to the for statement, and this time number becomes 2, and 2 times 2 gets printed, which is 4. Again back to the for statement, number will be 3, and this way the loop will keep running until it reaches 10. And after printing square of 10, loop terminates and the program stops. I hope it's crystal clear. Now suppose our requirement is to print only even numbers, which are 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. So how will we modify our loop to print only the even numbers from the list? Right now our loop is printing everything. We will put a check here to see if the number is even. So write if number modulus 2. Now this means divide number with 2 and give the remainder. And if the remainder equals 0, that means the number is divisible by 2 and it is even. So when this condition is true, the number is even, print its square. And when this condition will be false, the number is not even, this print statement will not execute. Have a look, and there we get squares of all the even numbers. And what if I change this operator to not equal? So this says if number is not an even number, that means odd number. In this case, the squares of only odd numbers will print and the even numbers are ignored. So we can make decisions inside the loop, which values to take from the list and which to ignore. Imagine we have user scores that are like this, a list of multiple dictionaries, and each dictionary is representing a user having his name and score. And we are required to print scores data like this, name and score side by side separated by colon. Well, if we print user scores like this, what we get? This is not the way we want it to show. So let's get rid of this. Here we are going to use for loop. For loop will give us the dictionaries one by one and we can print dictionary values the way we want. So let's log simple message first. Test scores. Now for dict in user scores. I named it dict because it's going to hold dictionaries one by one. So the list will throw first dictionary and the dict will catch it. Now down here we can fetch the name and score from the dict. Let's have a name variable. So dict care brackets name. Let's have another variable score to fetch the score value from the dictionary. So we got the name and score. Name is going to hold these values and score is going to hold these scores. Now let's print them. So let's use formatted string here. Name colon space and score. The list will throw dictionaries one by one. Dict will catch them and each time we take the name and score from the dictionary and print. Let's have a look. And this is exactly the way we want it. Perfect. Now let's show score percentages instead of scores. And that's very simple. Over here, before print, let's make a variable percentage. Now to calculate the percentage, we can divide the score with total score, which is let's say 10. And we will multiply this with 100 to get the percentage. So obtained score divided by total score multiplied by 100. That will give us the score percentage. And here let's replace score with percentage. Have a look. And here we get percentage scores of all the students. Let's add a percentage sign here. And there we get a beautiful output. And to filter the results, we can use conditions inside the for loop. For example, I want to print only those who got 90% or above. So if the percentage is 90 or above, only then we will print the user score. Take a look. And there are only 3 users scoring this. Beautiful.